All right, today we're cracking open the Digital Detectives Toolbox. We're going to look at some incredibly powerful and totally free satellite imaging tools. These are the tools that let investigators see the world in ways you probably never imagined, uncovering secrets that are hiding right out in the open. This isn't just about looking at maps. It's really about learning how to see. Okay, but before we dive in, a really important disclaimer. Everything we're talking about today is purely for educational purposes. We're just showing you the power of information that's already publicly available. I have to be crystal clear. We do not, under any circumstances, support or encourage any kind of illegal activity. So let me ask you this. What if you could investigate pretty much any place on Earth for free, right from where you're sitting? Well, that's the whole idea behind open source intelligence, or OSINT as it's known. It's this art of finding answers in data that's already out there for everyone to see. So let's start with the absolute foundation, the one tool you have to know. Right. Every good investigation needs a starting point, right? A kind of base map to build everything on. And for that, there is one classic tool that really stands above all the others. And yeah, that tool's probably one you already know, Google Earth. But we're going to look at it in a completely different way. Forget about just finding your own house. For an investigator, this thing is like a digital drawing board. It is the very first step in mapping out a target's entire world. This is where all the real reconnaissance begins. And this slide just perfectly sums up the difference in mindset. A casual user pops it open and asks, hey, where's the nearest pizza place? But an investigator, they're using that exact same 3D model to map out every entry and exit point, to spot potential security cameras, and to analyze how traffic flows at different times of the day. Suddenly, every single pixel becomes a potential clue. The real magic of Google Earth, though, is in the details. Take the historical imagery slider, for instance. With that, you basically become a time traveler. You can literally watch a location evolve year by year, spotting new construction or maybe new security fences going up. Then you switch over to Street View, and boom, you're on the ground. You're assessing sightlines, you're getting a real feel for the area, all without ever leaving your chair. It is the absolute cornerstone of this kind of work. But here's the thing about Google Earth. It's mostly a snapshot of the past. So what happens when you need to know what's going on right now? Well, for that, you're going to need a live view from space. And this is where we level up. Enter Sentinel Hub. Now, we're not talking about yesterday's data anymore. Sentinel gives you imagery from the Copernicus satellites that can be just a few hours old. This is absolutely crucial for monitoring things as they happen, tracking a ship's path in real time, watching activity at a factory, or even monitoring the spread of a wildfire. And this is where it gets really clever. A good investigator isn't just looking at the pretty picture. No, they use special filters to see in different wavelengths of light. This can reveal stuff that's totally invisible to our eyes, things like the health of crops, hidden water sources, or even heat signatures. And by comparing images taken just days apart, they can spot new construction that just popped up or see how traffic patterns have changed. It's basically digital forensics, but on a planetary scale. Okay, but what if you need updates even faster? For that, there's Zoom Earth. This thing pulls in weather and satellite data about every 10 minutes. It's your go-to tool for pure situational awareness. You can watch a storm front move in, check for cloud cover before a satellite makes a pass, or track wildfire smoke in near real time. It's like having a live pulse of the entire planet right at your fingertips. Okay, so we've got our foundation with Google Earth, and we've got our live view. But to truly understand a place, sometimes you have to put on your digital archaeologist hat and start digging into its past. And for that, I want you to meet the master control room of historical analysis, the USGS Earth Explorer. Think of this as a professional-grade archive, holding decades and decades of satellite imagery, especially from the famous Landsat program. When you need to do a really deep dive, this is where you go. What this lets you do is build a complete visual history for basically any location on Earth. An investigator can literally rewind time. They can look at a site before a high-security facility was ever built, looking for old roads that have since been covered up, forgotten structures, or vulnerabilities that you'd never find on a modern map. You're peeling back the layers of time to find what's been intentionally or unintentionally hidden. Now, for a different kind of history, there's NASA Worldview. This isn't just about pictures. We're talking about over 900 layers of data. You can visualize massive dust storms moving across entire continents. You can track carbon monoxide emissions from industrial sites, or you can watch the polar ice caps melt over the years. It's an incredible tool for turning complex scientific data into these powerful visual stories.
You see, a satellite image is great for showing you the what, but it doesn't always tell you the why. To really understand the human context of a place, how people actually use it, you need to get some eyes on the ground.
And that brings us to OpenStreetMap. People often call it the Wikipedia of maps, and that's a perfect description. Its power comes from millions of regular people who are constantly adding details, things like building names, one-way streets, even the location of tiny footpaths. It's this incredibly rich, crowdsourced information that's often way more up-to-date and detailed than any commercial map you can buy.
So if OpenStreetMap is the people's map, then you can think of my pillory as the people's street view. It's awesome. It collects ground-level images from everyday smartphones and dash cams. This means it covers all the back alleys and rural roads that the official street view cars never ever go down. For an investigator, this can give them a crucial look at, say, a building's rear entrance, or a hidden path that's totally invisible from space. And finally, in this category, we have Wikimapia. This is where users can just add labels directly onto satellite images. Now look, it's not as polished as an official map, not by long shot, but it can be an absolute treasure trove of local, on-the-ground knowledge. You might find labels for unmarked military sites, unofficial neighborhood names, and all kinds of little details that honestly only someone who's actually been there would know.
Okay, so the final step in all of this isn't just about finding data. It's about making sense of it. The best investigators out there don't just collect piles of information. They actively sharpen their minds to see the hidden patterns within it all. And that brings us to a really surprising question. How can a simple, fun online game actually be one of the best training tools for an intelligence analyst? Sounds weird, right? Well, the answer is a game called GeoGuessr. The concept is simple. The game drops you somewhere totally random in the world, and you have to figure out where you are. But for an OSINT researcher, this is like a mental gym. It forces you, it trains you to spot the absolute smallest clues, the language on a street sign, the style of the architecture, the color of the soil, even the position of the sun. All of these tiny things help you pinpoint a location with incredible precision. It literally trains your brain to think like a detective.
So let's do a super quick recap of our toolkit. We started with the foundation, Google Earth. Then we got our live view with Sentinel Hub and Zoom Earth. We did some tram travel with USGS Earth Explorer and NASA Worldview. We added that crucial ground-level human context with OpenStreetMap, Mapillary, and Wikimedia. And finally, we saw how a game like GeoGuessr can make our analytical skills razor-sharp.
Look, these tools offer an absolutely incredible new way to see our world. But, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So the final and honestly the most important takeaway from all of this is simple. Stay curious, stay ethical, and always operate within the boundaries of the law. Believe me, we have only just scratched the surface of what's possible with open source intelligence. All the tools are out there. They're free for anyone to use. So the only question left really is, what will you discover?